Hello everybody and welcome back to the GNU Lectures channel. In this video I'm going to be showing you some basic terminal commands. With that said, let's get started. So what is the terminal? Well, the terminal is similar to the command prompt or Windows PowerShell. At its core it's a text-based environment for controlling the system, but there are a lot of things you can do in a terminal that you can't do in the command prompt, or you can do it, but not as intuitively. Terminals are based on shells. You can think of a shell like a programming language. One shell might have extra features like autofill or spelling correction, or one may be more responsive, but for most people it doesn't matter which one you use. I'm demonstrating using Bash because it's the default shell for most distros, including Pop! OS, which we installed in the last video. These shells are not exclusive to Linux. They work on other Unix-based systems like Mac OS and BSD. One of the most common terminal commands is cd, which means change directory. This is used for navigating somewhere on the system. When you open a terminal you will be in your user's home directory. If I want to go to my documents folder, I can type cd documents. You can get somewhere by typing in the full directory, but in a lot of cases it isn't necessary. For example, if I'm in the USR folder and I want to go to /usr/share/backgrounds, instead of typing this, I can type this. Or if I want to go to my desktop, instead of typing this, I can type this. Typing cd on its own will bring you back to the user's home directory. Another important command is ls, which lists all the files in your current folder. If you want to create a new folder, then you can type mkdir and the name of the folder. So mkdir pog creates a folder called pog. Next we'll have a look at sudo. Sudo is placed at the beginning of a command. To run it as root, you'll need to type your password after a command that begins with sudo. Installing or removing software is where you're most likely to use sudo, kind of like user account control on Windows. Sudo can be used to run the entire terminal as root, and you can type exit to run the terminal as a normal user again. Typing exit while you're not root closes the terminal. These commands will change depending on the distro you use, but since Pop! OS is based on Ubuntu, I'll demonstrate using its package manager called apt. If I want to install kdenlive, I can type sudo apt install kdenlive. If I want to remove a program, say critter, I can type either sudo apt remove critter or sudo apt purge critter. And yes, you can install or remove multiple programs at once. Sudo apt update looks for updates. Sudo apt upgrade applies those updates. You can also install snaps and flatpaks in the terminal if it's not in your package manager. Now there are two basic shortcuts I want to show you. If the terminal is too messy, you can press Ctrl L to clear the screen, and if a process is running in the terminal, but you want to cancel it, press Ctrl C. The man command brings up the manual for a program or shell function. So if you're not sure what something does, you can find out more information using man. To remove a file, you use the command rmrf file name. If you want to rename the file, type mv file name and the new name. To move a file to a different location, type mv file name and where you want it to go. Much like disk part on Windows, cfdisk can be used to modify the partitions of disks. The command lsblk lists all the disks connected to your computer, the partitions on the disk, the size of the disk, and the size of the partitions. For both Unix systems and Windows, you can check your internet connection by typing ping and a domain name like google.com. It will send packets, and if the ping is successful it will tell you the time it took. Then just cancel with Ctrl C. If you're having issues with devices on your local network, you can try and ping one of those by typing in the IP address instead of a domain name. Echo is a very simple command. It just repeats what you type after it. Cowsay is a better version of echo because it has a cow, but you have to install it yourself. Operators allow you to run multiple commands at once. There are 4 that I'm gonna discuss. Semicolon, this runs the first command, and then the second command when the first one finishes. And this will only run the next command if the one before it is successful. Pipe, this is the opposite of and it only runs the second command if the first one fails. singular and this is like the semicolon, but it runs the next command immediately instead of waiting for the first one to finish. If you want to view a file such as a HTML file, code sample, or a text document, you can do so with Nano, which is a basic text editor. I much prefer to use a graphical text editor like Emacs, but it's an option. Do note that, if you're reading a file that you didn't make, you need to use sudo, otherwise it's read-only. User add can be used to add a user, so sudo user add John creates a new user account called John. Password can be used to give a new user a password, or change the password of an existing user. And the last command we are looking at today is to check the time. Just type date, and it will list the date, time zone, and time. There we go, some fairly simple commands in the terminal. Now there are a lot of other things you can do in a terminal, like play music.
Guys, if I win this video on this Among Us for 5 seconds, you guys have
View images, make QR codes, and do this matrix effect, but I didn't want it to be overwhelming, so I figure I'd cover basic ones that you may actually use. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video.